Thank you very much for joining us for this session. All the people who aren't here are about to miss out because I guarantee you're going to find this very interesting. My name's Mike Butcher. I was at TechCrunch for a long time, and now I'm running a new media startup called Pathfounders.com. Like and subscribe, as they say. William, you have been in the technology industry for decades. You actually wrote some software for chess when you were 13, didn't you? Commercially.
It was a few years after that, but yes, I've been at it since I was 13 years old, writing code for my school teacher's software business in the computer room at high school.
Slave labour.
And I've not stopped. So
he's not stopped. I think that it's worth it, and he's actually a very humble man, and I think, but everyone needs to know the contribution William's given to the technology community. He did a startup called Evie back in the day, which ended up being sold to Amazon. So every time you call Alexa, that's the technology that this man produced and sold to Amazon, right?
Yeah, that was a full 10 years of my life, from founding True Knowledge EV to leaving Amazon.
True Knowledge, EV, Amazon Alexa. This is the guy. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're always talking about artificial intelligence all the time these days, since generative AI first broke onto the scene in late 2022. And you have been slightly in stealth mode a little bit for a couple of years, and then maybe about 18 months ago kind of broke cover with your new startup, UnlikelyAI. And you are looking at a new kind of approach to AI, which is called, and we're just going to walk you through this, guys, so we're all on the same page, neuro-symbolic AI.
Correct.
We're familiar with large language models now. Many of you, if you don't know what a large language model is, you're at the wrong conference now. Obviously, generative AI. And we are familiar, this new approach to AI, which is neuro-symbolic. Let's walk everyone through this.
Sure.
What is it?
So, if you think about software, you can divide software roughly into two types of software. It's the way I like to think of it. So you've got the statistical machine learning world. So the LLMs would be a great example of that, which are solving problems that haven't been solved for decades in computers. So they're doing things with complex data. They're understanding natural language. They're understanding images. They're understanding what's in video. They're solving doing extraordinary things, solving problems that people writing conventional software haven't been able to do for many years. But the way they do it is a statistical guess. When you train a deep learning model, you provide it astronomical amounts of data, you run a benchmark against it, it gets better and better and better as you train it. At some points, it plateaus off. It always plateaus off before 100%. So it's never 100% accurate. It's always slightly short of that. Also, these models are absolutely huge. So you can think of a deep learning model as a formula with hundreds of billions of weights in, which are, those weights get to their final values through a process that's, costs millions of dollars and involves astronomical amounts of data. So it's almost the most unexplainable thing, a formula with hundreds of billions of weights in, almost impossible to explain. People don't know how they work.
And increasing amounts of power.
Increasing amounts of power.
Yeah.
So they can't explain, and they're not perfectly accurate, even though they do magical things. Then you look at the traditional software, the software of algorithms and data structures. That generally works 100% of the time. Your spreadsheet, when it adds two numbers together, if it occasionally added those two numbers up wrong, you would consider that to be a really serious defect. It's a bug. And because it's an algorithm, because it's code, it can trace what it's doing. It can tell you exactly what it did. But it can't solve natural language. It can't tell you what's in an image. There are problems it can't do. So neurosymbolic is trying to get the best of both worlds. Neuro is short for the statistical machine learning world, the LLM world. Symbolic is short for the algorithmic world. So what we're trying to do at UnlikelyAI is develop advanced technology that gets you both, that gets you the accuracy, the explainability, the trust that comes from symbolic software, but gets you the capabilities of the statistical deep learning world, the LLM world.
The neuro.
The neuro, that's right.
So there's symbolic and the neuro. So the
Correct.
symbolic being really traditional software,
Yeah.
accurate software, and the
Yeah.
neuro, which is the generative.
Yeah, so, and this is what we're doing. So we're live with our technology. It's taken a lot of time. It's really difficult technology, and it blends LLMs with our proprietary tech to create that sort of full explainability and really high accuracy. Yeah, we're in market, with some proof points.
You're actually up and running. You're selling your software. You won an award with the insurance industry recently. If you can win an award with the insurance, then you must be on something.
Yeah.
You raised, update us on the company a bit. In 2024, you broke cover with a seed round of $20 million.
Correct.
And that was a seed round of 20.
Yep.
Have you raised any more since? Do you want to break any news on stage?
No, we've done no new external money since that big round. But
What's your valuation now?
I definitely can't share that.
Fair enough. But let's get into this. Is this truly going to be? I mean, obviously, I'm sure you would like to talk about it as a transformative technology.
Yep.
But if it's as transformative as you imply, why are we only not hearing more about it?
Well, maybe we should. I mean, I see the big picture as, if obviously everybody here is aware how big AI is. It's a trillion. There's like $1 trillion of infrastructure, AI infrastructure, being built out. And that infrastructure is being built out in anticipation of massive adoption of AI. And obviously we're seeing a lot of that, but we're also seeing a lot of that not happening, particularly in enterprise, particularly in business. And the reason is exactly the issues I've just been talking about, trust and explainability. If you're in a regulated industry, if you've got an established business with huge amounts of money associated with it, if you've got a brand that's worth a lot of money, and you want to automate some of your business with AI, you do a pilot, you find it goes embarrassingly wrong every now and then. It can't explain how it's doing it. It can't conform with regulation, and that means that your AI adoption doesn't actually happen. And there's been all sorts of surveys showing that enterprise adoption of AI is not nearly as fast as it should be. Almost all the pilots that are done are not being put into production.
There was a famous MIT thing which people still quote, that 95% of AI pilots were not being implemented by corporate companies.
And the very large reason for that is the fact that it doesn't work well enough. It's just, it goes wrong a small percentage of the time, or even a big percentage of the time. The results can't be explained, you can't trust it. And in business, you absolutely need to trust the system that you're giving your processes over to. So, to get to, the new definitions of AGI are about automating, large amounts of the economic work that's out there. That isn't going to happen if you can't trust the technology that's doing that automation.
You're playing in the enterprise. You're trying to solve real hard problems for enterprise-grade software. Is this approach going to be applicable in consumer AI? We're all familiar with chatbots, AI chatbots on our phones now. Would that be applicable in that scenario?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, we're starting with enterprise, but absolutely, the same techniques can be applied to consumer applications too.
It seems inexplicable to me that we're not hearing more about it. Is it because there's a political decision being made by the large foundational model platforms to push a certain type, an approach to AI?
I think the technology is very difficult. I think that's part of it, and it requires a different way of thinking. So I think a lot of the very prominent people who are working in the AI labs are thinking in terms of what's happening inside the weights, what's happening inside the model. And that clearly is where a lot of the innovation has happened in the last few years, and where a lot of the magic is coming from. So the symbolic world requires a different way of thinking. It requires different skills, and it's super hard. So it's not like a simple idea that anybody could adopt. It's something that requires a lot of work and a lot of know-how.
Have you been? I presume you have seen Yann LeCun recently left Meta. Is doing his own startup. There have been some other spin-outs of founders out of, say, OpenAI, and they've raised money. What's your sort of overall look at oppression and opinion about some of those other approaches that are going on?
So I think they all have value. Intelligence is not one thing. So Yann LeCun is doing world models, and that is needed for, in particular for robotics, for advances in robotics, for a lot of particular applications. We're focusing on trust, getting LLMs and getting deep learning accurate.
Yeah.
Those are both of those things can progress. Both of those will make the world a better place. Both of those will, get the world solve technology capabilities that we're not currently solving.
I mean, what about AI in Europe? How sovereign could this approach be? Could we talk about neurosymbolic AI startups coming out of Europe having more capability, being more accurate, being more sovereign in a way compared to North American companies?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what that means. I mean, we're a British company. We're based in London. I guess it is British tech if it's our tech. But we want to deploy the technology all over the world. I mean, our early customers are in the UK. We've got some very big banking customers and insurance and accounting customers that are local. But we want this technology to scale across the world. So yes, there's no current plan to kind of keep it within Europe.
Right. Well, maybe we can try and persuade you. That's probably going to be a conversation that's going to be happening a lot more in the future. What about power? I mean, you're actually not eschewing the LLMs. You're actually using LLM models underneath and then combining it with your own approach. Does your approach solve some of the issues around the requirement for compute and for energy?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the symbolic world, when I compared the neuro world and the symbolic world earlier, one of the things I could have said was the enormous difference in power requirements. So the neuro world runs on GPUs, it requires astronomical amounts of power. These huge models are extremely greedy when it comes to energy. And part of the huge rollout of infrastructure I talked about, that $1 trillion rollout of infrastructure, includes power infrastructure, including new nuclear power plants being planned and things like that. The symbolic world runs on CPUs. It uses a fraction of the power that the neuro world uses. So yes, moving to more symbolic methods has very significant impact on the power requirements of AI solutions.
So sort of on one hand, instead of you asking ChatGPT how high is the Eiffel Tower, and it has to kind of look into its neural network and figure out if it's correct in some way, you're saying is, sure, we know how high it is. We can pull that data in because we know that data is accurate, that doesn't require power, and then you can ask it a more complex question as like, how does it compare to another tall building or whatever?
That's right. So in the neurosymbolic blend or whatever it is, the symbolic pieces will use a lot less power than the neuro pieces will.
That's kind of exciting though, isn't it?
Yep.
Because we're always talking about the amount of, the whole of Europe is talking about whether or not we're going to have to build more atomic power stations, nuclear power stations to power LLMs and what have you.
Absolutely. Right? Yep, absolutely.
We might be onto something. You are also looking at, you're expanding out of the enterprise space. Is there, what other directions do you think you could take this technology?
So at the moment, we're focused on addressing enterprise adoption. And we're relatively early in our commercialization, as you mentioned. We've been kind of working on the tech and stealth for a while. And the early industries, the low-hanging fruit for us are the ones where trust is most important. So high stakes, where a decision going wrong is exceptionally damaging. So finance, accounting, health, any of the regulated industries. But this applies to every business ultimately, and in fact every user of AI. But yes, that's where we're focused at the moment.
What about some of your observations about the wider industry itself? We're familiar with Grok, for instance. Grok, I think, just from Mr. Musk, I think is now quite heavily involved with the US government. What's your impressions about how AI is being applied at that kind of level?
So, there's a wider issue around trust, which I've been talking about. The more we delegate to AI, to machines, the more we need to be able to trust them. And all of these big foundation models are black boxes, and they're inaccurate. And the explanations they produce are not necessarily how they actually produce the answer. So it should be a concern for everybody, not necessarily Grok, but any kind of very large black box that's being given significant power or being given significant responsibility, and there's no bigger responsibility as the military use, of course. That should be a concern, and trust is the kind of single word that sums up what those concerns should be.
There are also observations over the last year that perhaps we might see a convergence between generative artificial intelligence and down the track, quantum systems. What sort of parallels do you see in that space, say, for instance, with the technology you're working on?
Actually, I don't see that. There's a field called quantum machine learning, but I think it's a very long way from influencing the path that we're on for AI adoption. And quantum computing is also some way off, and I don't think it's directly on this path either. So quantum is often talked about, obviously, as an incredibly sexy technology that people are very excited about. So it's often associated with AI, but I don't think there's much in the way of synergy between the two, at least from my perspective.
You've taken investment. Just remind us who your investors are.
So Amadeus and Octopus and Cambridge Innovation Capital, and yeah, a number of investors. But Amadeus and Octopus led the large round that we did.
There's obviously a big talent war going on. Where are you drawing your talent, and do you see other neuro-symbolic AI startups appearing in the near future?
So we're based in London, which has got some strengths, and we've got some advantages and disadvantages over the Bay Area. Obviously, costs are much lower in London, and we're one of the few businesses in London to be doing foundational technology, which is great from a competition from talent point of view. Yeah, there's always competition. We were aware of it. I'm sure as we have success, others will be following us. But there's, at the moment, we've got some clear blue water between what we're doing and what others are doing.
Do you get called up every other day asking for if a VC can be in your next round?
We have lots of conversations with VCs, yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Playing your cards close to your chest, I think, William. Look, I mean, I'm so glad we managed to squeeze this in, and thank you very much to Steffi and the team at DLD to get this into the session right at the last minute. And I think we'll all be watching what you do next with UnlikelyAI. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, please thank you to William Tunstall-Pedoe, and from me, Mike Butcher, from Pathfounders. Have a great weekend, and see you again next year.
Thank you.
Right.